Welcome to the show this Sunday. Thank you for tuning in. Appreciate you guys being here. You know, I appreciate all you guys anyway, because I'm going to tell you, I got about maybe regular viewers, probably 3,000, varies probably 3,000 to 6,000 regular viewers. And, you know, there's a core element of commenters out there, people who comment. I really enjoy your comments. I appreciate it, even if it's just to say, hey, Glenn, hey, how you doing? I enjoy that. You know, I'm proud of you guys. I'm going to tell you why I'm proud of you guys. We've just went through a crisis of unparalleled proportions. Unparalleled since the World Wars. And we're about 3/4 of the way through this crisis right now. And we've waded through this crisis without people losing it. We've maintained a certain amount of dignity through this situation, and it's not been easy on any of you guys out there. Some of you are dealing with a kitchen table that's covered with bills that you don't know how to pay. And this is causing you a great deal of anxiety. Some of you are dealing with sick loved ones, and this is causing you a great deal of anxiety. Some of you are dealing and coping with you being out of work, or maybe having to work too much. Maybe it's affected. This is impacting each and every person out there in its own special way. This evil Grinch of a disease. And some people can't face. They just cannot accept what's going on. And this is part of their coping mechanism. Some people's coping mechanism is to have a drink or two. Some people, maybe it's a smoke or two, you know. So we're seeing an uptick in substance abuse, tremendous uptick. But these are all part of coping mechanisms. Yeah, and I'm proud of you guys for the fact that you are coping. Even though you might have your own special way of coping, still, you're not losing it. In this situation, you know, if we all were to lose it, the world will get wrecked. And at that point, our very survival would be in jeopardy, you know. And the thing is that's why I'm proud of you guys for not losing it, for relying upon your coping mechanisms, no matter what those coping mechanisms might be. You know, maybe you need an extra drink in the evening because maybe your table is covered with bills that you don't know how you're going to pay. And maybe some people out there, you know, are resorting to having to, their stomachs are so empty that they go to the grocery store and they might be stealing an apple or something. Oh, whose fault is that? Well, you know, the government's kind of dropped the ball on all this. They've went on vacation after vacation after vacation. And they're probably the ones who are suffering the least. They don't have any problems getting their bills paid. I notice that they're not losing their jobs. When it comes to shutting down the government, I don't think so, guys. They're going to get their paycheck one way or the other. It's us. We're the ones out here on this end of the stick. We're getting the short end of the stick on this deal, you know. And they've been taking their good-looking time. Now, they want to get through this Banking for All Act. Central bank digital currencies, you know. And I don't know just exactly what's going on with all this, but we actually are going to need the central bank digital currencies. They've created a situation where we are actually quite literally going to need it. It's either that or you're going to have like 1 million people in America, maybe more, that quite literally could starve to death. That ain't going to happen. That ain't going to happen. This is America. I cannot see millions of people actually starving to death in the streets of America. I don't see that happening. And you know, I mean, I cannot possibly see that happening. But you know, This is what happens when you let a central bank in the door. And ultimately in the end, what they're running is a Ponzi scheme. So we're coming around to the worst situation that there ever was. But we're not there yet. We're going to climb and claw our way past this virus. And this is what we're doing. We can see the light at the end of the tunnel for the virus. And when this virus is gone, or starts to go away, I think that we're going to have the next 3 months, January, February, and March are going to be bleak. They're going to be very bad months. Because the virus is not gone. And we don't have these money coming in yet to the system. They've dragged their heels on it. We don't have the central bank digital currencies to help out. And you're wondering how that'll help out is they're probably going to send you a card in the mail, a little plastic card, once they get it in place. And they'll put money on it right from the central bank. You'll be able to go to a grocery store or whatever, and they'll be able to just use it like a credit card. You'll be able to get your food, pay your bills, and things. They don't have that in place yet. That's coming. Probably second quarter. You're probably going to see that come in place. And the reason why it's going to come in place, because if they don't put it in place, there are going to be starving people in America if they don't get that in place. So that's coming. And as we move up and out of this virus, and once they get all these systems in place to support the people, and they're going to, make no mistake about it, things are going to start to improve. So we're going to have, the second quarter is probably going to be better than the first. And by the third quarter of 2021, we're probably going to start to really feel a recovery from this, and it's going to feel good for a change. You might be able to get your bills paid off. You'll feel more secure because probably they'll do something about the rents and everything, and the mortgages and everything. They'll probably do something about that too. And you'll have more of an answer as to what you're going to do moving forward. In other words, you'll have things more back the way they should be, where you can relax a little bit more. And maybe you won't need that extra drink in the evening so much anymore. But as we move into the latter part of 2021, things are going to be really starting to tick along, and people are going to have a hopeful outlook. So next Christmas is probably going to be a good Christmas, even though this one's been so bad, But we're headed toward doom, because what that's going to do, that little bit of relief we get, that little bit of an economic recovery we get, is going to lead us to something that's much more dire, much more darker, much more sinister. And this is called the wealth transfer. And I'm expecting it to start in 2022. And basically what the wealth transfer is, it's going to be the year for gold, the year for silver, the year for cryptocurrencies. And the people that are holding cryptocurrencies when 2022 hits, you're going to see nothing more than an explosion in price all year that's going to increasingly intensify as the year progresses. So you're saying, well, what's bad about that? I've been waiting for years for the gold and silver price to go to the moon. What's bad about that? What's bad? My cryptocurrency goes to the moon, I'll be rich. Yeah, but this is the wealth transfer. You just cannot take all of these people who have worked hard for U.S. dollars for years and have stored the money away as a store of value. You just can't take all of that away from them, pull the rug out from under them, make all their money worthless, and move all of that money, all of that capital, all of that work, what's represented by work, over into three small asset classes, gold, silver, and crypto, without it causing an enormous disruption to the world. A disruption like has never been seen before. That'll probably be starting in the final parts of 2022 and extend into 2023. And this is what to really beware of. This is going to probably be unparalleled in human history, biblical in proportions. But the final conclusion is that this wealth transfer cannot be stopped. Now at this point, it's been put in motion that it's going to happen. Because the alternative to that is for them not to pump the money out there, for them not to go for a central bank digital currency, for them not to support the system and have the system utterly collapse now. So it would be a complete disastrous collapse within the next few months if they don't create the situations that's going to cause the wealth transfer. So we're going to have this little period of warm, fuzzy period of a little bit of a recovery. But that's because they're going to support the system. If they don't support the system, we're going to go into a Mad Max world in the next 6 months if they don't support it. But if they do support it, then we're going to have a recovery, but then we're going to go into a bad, bleak situation with the wealth transfer in the following year. And in 2022 and probably 2023, we're going to go through the wealth transfer. And for some of you out there, if you're packing a lot of Bitcoin or if you're packing a lot of gold or silver, you're going to find that this wealth transfer is probably going to make you rich. You're probably going to be looking at very minimum of 10 times at least on your gold and silver, and you're probably going to be looking at a bare minimum of at least 100 times on your cryptocurrencies during the wealth transfer. So it'll make you rich, but at an immense cost, because there's going to be whole probably areas, probably a partial system shutdown that the wealth transfer is going to cause. And I'm going to call it a partial system shutdown. Now, the alternative to that is for them not to support the system now, and in the next 6 months we'd have a total collapse, 100% collapse. With the wealth transfer, we're probably going to have like a 40-50% collapse of the system. So, it's all about trade-offs here. They're not going to let the complete collapse happen where they don't support the system. And we have a second Great Depression. They're not going to let that happen because it would be too dire. They will do anything to preserve their power base. And if the system completely collapses, chaos would reign supreme. And in that, then there is no power base anymore. There is no leaders, there's no chancellors, there's no presidents, there's no nothing, because the system is just gone completely berserk, and there's no law and there's no order. But with the wealth transfer, they would still maintain a world where there would be law and order maintained in the world. But there would be areas of the system that would go down into confusion and chaos. Partially. Maybe quite large areas. And what that would lead to ultimately is there would come a time when order would be restored through the wealth transfer. But you're going to find that a whole new set of people are going to be rich. People that were rich before are going to be poor. Because the wealth is going to be transferred out of one set of hands and into another. So there's no sense worrying about if they do let the system collapse into a second Great Depression, and they let it totally 100% collapse, there'd be no sense worrying about that. Because there'd be a very small chance. It would be very difficult to make it through it. For the people out there who are totally prepared even, they would find that the people that are not prepared would raid them. So, it'd be very difficult, to put it and you'd probably, gosh knows, once the system completely collapsed like that, how long it would take before a new system would be restored or any resemblance of law and order. This is why they can't let that happen. This is why I only give that about I'm going to say 0% chance that they're going to let that happen. The way they're going to go is they're going to keep printing until we get this wealth transfer. And that's the way it's going to go. And the wealth transfer, it's not going to be near as bad as a total system collapse. It depends on, for you, personally, it depends on what you're packing, what you're holding. If you're holding gold, silver, and crypto through the wealth transfer. That depends totally on what your situation's going to be like coming through that wealth transfer. If you're all into the dollar, I don't care if you got $5 million right now, and you're all into the dollar, and you don't have any of these alternative assets, during the wealth transfer, it's going to be very hard to obtain these assets. So if you got $5 million and you want to buy a bar of gold, go find it during the wealth transfer. You got $5 million. Go find your bar of gold then. Because if the people that's got it are seeing it go up every day astronomically high, and you want to trade them for fiat, they're not stupid. Same thing with Bitcoin, cryptos. Are they going to want to give you their precious crypto when your dollar's going down daily in a hyperinflation? So if you wait too long to get on board, well, if you do find some guy who's willing to sell you a little bit of crypto for your dirty old dollars, you can bet he is going to try to figure it ahead. Like how much, he might try to figure what's the price going to be for my crypto like 2 weeks from now. And he's going to charge you that price. If you're lucky enough to find somebody that's willing to sell it to you. Once a wealth transfer is completed, your dollar's going to be worth zero. So you can see what kind of a panic there's going to be to try to get out of these asset classes if you're invested into the dollar. Because it's absolutely going to zero. And I don't know how they're going to transfer the value of things like stocks and bonds and everything. Well, bonds are going to go to zero. But stocks do represent an underlying value of the company. And when the dollar goes to zero, they're going to have to transfer that wealth over. So your stocks, I guess, are going to end up being priced probably in Bitcoin in the end. How that's all going to work and how they're going to transfer that value over, I'm just not exactly sure. And this is why I say it's going to cause massive disruption in the system. But at this point, we've passed the Rubicon. I don't really see any other way out than these two ways. This fork in the road, and one road goes off to the right, one road goes off to the left. One is where it deflates, and one is where it inflates. But it certainly can't stay where we're at right now. We've passed the Rubicon. And I'm telling you guys, probably going into 2022, when the velocity of money starts to pick up, when banks start to lend again, we're going to see inflation like you've never actually seen it before. And there's no way of cooling it off. Like back in the 1970s when we started to get inflation and the dollar started to be devalued, Paul Volcker got right out there in front of the bus. He threw himself in front of the bus and he raised interest rates up to like 20%. They can't do that now. They can't get over the zero bound. How are they going to slow the inflation? Well, the answer is they're not. And when these people out there, a lot of them sitting on the sidelines, and you have no idea how much money is sitting on the sidelines right now, waiting to see if this is going to deflate or inflate. When they finally see that it's taking the direction of inflation, they're gonna try to pile out. Do you realize how bullish it's been the last few days for cryptocurrency? Cryptocurrencies went up to almost $20,000. And it fell a little bit. And now that it's moved back up without even testing its lows? How bullish that is? Madness. Cryptocurrency, in my mind, is madness. But it's only a reflection of the madness that's in the system right now. Listen, guys, have a great rest of the weekend. Try to relax. Do whatever you need to do to make it through this situation, whatever coping skills you have, things are going to get better moving into next year. And I hate to tell you, things are going to get worse moving into 2022 again with the wealth transfer. But we're going to make it through that too. Some of you are going to get rich from the wealth transfer. The smart ones out there. You know, and you're going to see things sold for pennies on the dollar. You're going to have the money to buy these things because you're going to have Bitcoin. You're going to have gold. You're going to have silver to buy them with. There's going to be opportunities out there that you'll only ever see once in a lifetime during the wealth transfer. And when the wealth transfer is over, if you've transferred that wealth over into real hard, tangible things, like if you've taken your Bitcoin or your gold or your silver and you've bought yourself a really nice piece of property someplace that you could never normally afford, then in the following years, after the wealth transfer, it's going to be like